Hello YouTube and preppers, this is the Comms Prepper, and today's video is the second video of my new playlist series, how to install an Icom ID-5100A D-STAR mobile radio in a 2015 Nissan Frontier pickup truck. In my first video we demonstrated how you can run power from the battery through the firewall into the passenger compartment to the center console. In today's video we're going to install two new Motorola or NMO antenna mounts in the roof of the pickup truck. We're going to show how we route that cable down around the door, being cautious of the side curtain airbags to make sure we don't obstruct their functionality, and route that cable to the center console so when the new radio does arrive we'll be able to hook up the antenna, hook up the power, and become operational in the D-STAR system. In this video I'm also going to demonstrate some of the tools that I use when I do a mobile radio installation. I have a car radio installation toolkit there that I got from Amazon for $5. And those are very useful when you have to start prying apart the plastic pieces inside the passenger compartment for routing cable. Here are some of the pieces I removed last night in preparation for today's installation. I've got standard clippers and strippers. I've got tie wraps and of course two NMO mount kits that I got off of eBay. I've got some Anderson power pole connectors. We've already used those. So we'll go ahead and take a look inside the passenger compartment and show you how we're going to route this antenna cable. And then we'll go ahead and take that 3/4 inch hole saw drill right there and start drilling some holes and routing some cable. Let's take a look inside the truck. Now that I know where the side curtain airbags are and I can avoid them at all costs, the plan is to route the cable from the NMO mount towards the front of the vehicle where I've dropped the dome light here, route them over to the A pillar there, the front door, carefully come down behind the door panel there, behind the glove box, and to the center console where we'll come up with the power cable coming from the firewall, and then very carefully reassemble everything without breaking any of the plastic pieces, and this should be a very nice, clean and serviceable installation. Before the drilling begins, I'd like to show you the drill bit I'm going to use. That's an NMO mount hole saw. It's a 3/4 inch hole saw specifically designed for putting antennas in. It has a lip there that keeps the drill bit from going through the roof into the headliner. That's the NMO mount connection there that's going to get inserted into the roof with the cable coming off the edge. There's a retaining ring that goes around it, and under that ring is a rubber grommet that's coated with silicone grease to make it a watertight seal. Now some of you might ask, well, what will I do when I sell the vehicle? Well, they also make NMO mount hole plugs. That's a rubber plug right there. We're not going to use that today. I just brought it out to show you in the video. So if I ever have to remove this mount, I can plug the hole with that watertight hole plug there. Now if I have to take the car to the garage or car wash and want to take the antenna off, they also make these protective caps that screw onto the NMO mount. It also has a rubber gasket. Take your antenna off, screw that on, and it protects the threads on the connection and also keeps water from corroding it, so you always have a good electrical connection when you connect your antenna. So now we're going to mark the spot where we're going to drill the holes and get these antenna mounts in. Okay, so I got blue painter's tape here. This is the first time I'm trying this. This was recommended, and the idea is that it makes a cleaner hole when the bottom side of the lip hits the paint on the roof. So we'll give it a shot. We're going to start drilling our hole. Okay, we got it going. We're also going to get a little dustpan to clean all these filings off really good, because if it was humid out they could actually leave little rust spots on the paint job. And I thought I charged this battery. Alright, magic of editing. Got the dustpan broom and a new battery. And I'm going to have to agree with that suggestion. The blue painter's tape makes a much cleaner hole. That's a perfect 3/4 inch hole for an NMO mount antenna. We'll go ahead and move to the back and get the second hole in. Alright, here we go with the second hole. got it going. Get those filings out of there. Almost through. Do this gently so they don't scratch the finish. And we'll get the last piece of that out. And there's our hole. We got 2 holes, and I got a little something underneath there that I'm going to have to address. A metal tab. And we'll do that off camera, but that's our second hole. And I do like the blue painter's tape. That really makes a difference. So we'll go ahead and pause here. I'll address that little metal tab with a separate drill bit, and we'll start pulling the antenna through. Alright, so we're going to start with the hole that turned out the worst. We've got to own up to our mistakes. When we drilled the hole, we caught the edge of a cross member going across. So we had to very carefully get a Dremel out and grind that back without damaging the hole. And as I was pulling the Dremel out, I just caught the edge of the paint there and gouged it, kind of defeating the purpose of the blue painter's tape. But it is what it is. So doing this isn't without risk. I'll try to get this out of the camera there. And we got the tools we're going to need laid up. Now here's how the NMO mount works. There's 2 tabs here, and this actually slides into the hole, and then there's a lip, and this brass ring is going to screw onto here and create pressure on the opposite side, squeezing it together, and it'll lock into place inside that hole. There's a rubber grommet here that goes underneath. We're going to coat that with the silicone grease. It keeps the O-ring pliable, keeps it from drying out, and that's what maintains your weather-tight seal. Now there's also another gasket that goes around all of this when you mount your antenna, and I have those on order because I couldn't find mine. So what we're going to do is take this off and get this into position, and you dip this down in the hole and then pull it back, and you can feel this lock into place. So that's the antenna locked into position, or the mount. And now we'll go ahead and prepare the ring. We'll also get a lot of band-aids when you're doing this, because you're going to need them. So we get our silicone grease. We're going to make sure we get that all over that O-ring. Get a nice. And before I did this, I cleaned the roof off with the broom to make sure we got rid of the filings. And then I went ahead and cleaned the surface with some Windex. So we're going to put that in there. And so I don't get silicone all over the car, I'm going to wipe my fingers off. And we're going to slowly screw that on there until we get a bite. And now, when the ring's on there, we can actually work this a little better and make sure it's sitting correctly inside the hole. And you'll feel it lock into place as we're doing this. And now it's locked into place. We got a good seal all the way around. Put the needle nose pliers down in the hole. Not a whole lot of torque. It doesn't need to be stripped out. It's a brass ring. They make a tool for this, I just don't have it. Get a wrench on there. It's got a nice spot for a wrench. And this is what's actually creating that waterproof seal. And we try to do this without scratching the roof any more than we already have. And I'm going to call that good. It's a nice solid weatherproof mount. Now since I'm not going to mount an antenna on that right away, I'm going to put a little silicone on here. Make sure I wipe off some of the excess. And we'll go ahead and cap that connector when my other antenna comes in. So the Icom radio is going to be hooked up to the other mount once I get the thread on. There we go. And that gives us a nice seal there. Put the cap on the silicone grease. Get the tools off the roof. Make sure to clean that up nicely. Alright, there's an antenna mount there. And again, if I were to sell this vehicle, I would go ahead and take that mount out and use one of these rubber plugs that would snap down in that hole and plug that hole. So now we'll move to the next hole up front. I got my cameraman panning for me, and that's where we're going to put the second antenna. We'll get this one done back here. We got the cap on it. We're going to do this one here. This is the one that's going to be connected to the ID-5100 Alpha D-STAR radio. Again, we're going to slip the NMO mount down into the hole. And you can see where it starts to grip inside the hole there. And now we're going to go ahead and put the silicone grease on the gasket. Now it's important you don't use RTV. This has to be silicone grease. And you want to get it all around in there. We'll set that down into the retaining ring. Got a nice piece of paper towel here. Clean off my fingers. And of course I already swept this nicely and used some Windex to clean off the surface. And now I'm going to gently set that on the nut. Get a grip, wiggle it around, you'll feel it lock into place. And then slowly turn it by hand. It's in position. Now I got this one off of eBay too. It's new out of the package, but you can see there's a little bit of corrosion on it. But that's not going to be a big deal. We'll clean that up later. Get our needle nose pliers down in the hole. And then the roof is starting to get hot. And slowly tighten that up. Again, not too much to strip it out, just enough to compress that O-ring and make it weather tight. And we'll maybe give that another quarter turn. And I'm going to call that good. Not too much torque. And what I'll do is I'll jump down and actually get the antenna so you can see what it looks like. Okay, I don't have the part number for this tram antenna, TRAM. I'll put a link down below with the part number. This is a dual band VHF UHF antenna. It's got a little spring-loaded tip down here for the radiating element. There's also another gasket that goes here that I ordered off of Amazon last night. But we'll go ahead and put that on now without that gasket so you can see what it looks like. And that gasket would create another weatherproof seal around there, further protecting the vehicle. And there's our antenna. So I'll step down, we'll step back from the vehicle and show you what that looks like. Okay guys, so we very carefully ran the cable across the top of the headliner here in the front of the vehicle. And then very carefully, I've been routing the cable down the pillar here, being very mindful of the airbag here, the side curtain impact airbag, making sure all the cabling is behind it and I don't interfere with any part of this airbag when I put this all back together. So we don't want to obstruct the functionality of the airbag, and more importantly, we don't want to set the airbag off. I don't know what sets them off, but I'm pretty sure if you poke at it enough, it'll go off. So we're going to go ahead and continue running the cable down here through to the glove box, come across to the center console and button all this up. And then we'll go ahead and terminate the end of the cable with a PL259 connector. Okay, we got everything put back together. We brought the coax from the NMO mounts up under the dome light in the front of the vehicle, underneath the headliner to the A-pillar, came down behind the airbag to make sure we didn't do anything to obstruct the functionality of the airbag. We went behind the glove box here and came over to the center console, and we actually put the console back together. And in the back, I hope you can see that, I drilled a little 1/2-inch hole, brought the two pieces of coax out with the power cable with the Anderson power pole connector, which you can see there, and then terminated each cable with a PL259 connector. And that's where the base unit of the ID-5100 mobile is going to go. And we left the top tray loose up here because I got to mount the control head up there, and then the control cable will go behind the radio down to the center console, and everything will sit in there nice and neat, and I think that's a good clean installation. That concludes video 2 in the playlist series of installing an Icom ID-5100 Alpha mobile radio, a D-STAR radio, and a 2015 Nissan Frontier. And this was the installation part for the antenna. The previous video, and I'll put a link down below to that, was running the power. The next video will be installing the radio once that arrives. So there's the two antennas mounted. In front I have the TRAM 1181 dual band amateur radio 2 meter 70 centimeter antenna, and behind that I have the DPD Productions double 5/8 whip GMRS antenna, and I'll put links down below for both of these antennas. Successfully installed on NMO mounts in the roof of a 2015 Nissan Frontier pickup truck. Thanks for watching, guys.